The Keller Cases, The July Divide, written by R.B. Martin and narrated by Adam Mystery. July doesn't creep in, it hits. Not like March, heavy and patient. Not like April, quiet and calling. July burns. By the time it showed up, my bread and butter cases had already dried out. Simple work disappears when your name gets attached to something bigger than it should have been. People don't hire a man who brings federal shadows to their doorstep. The Mackland case saw to that. Husband, wife, both dead. $6.8 million dissolved like it never existed. No trail, no recovery, no one asking questions loud enough to matter. That kind of ending doesn't close a case, it poisons it. Clients notice. Business slows. And suddenly the work that used to keep the lights on starts looking the other way. Good thing Artemis doesn't. We stopped pretending it was temporary somewhere between Florida and the docks. Turned it into a partnership. His cases. My legwork. Clean on paper. Billable. Above board. That's how you survive when the system starts paying attention to you. That's also how you stay close to it. Because Meridian didn't just show me what they could do. They showed me what they'd already been doing. Quiet, efficient, untouchable, no noise, no mistakes. No bodies left in places that mattered. Just movement. Controlled. Precise. Like it didn't need to try. That's what bothered me. Not the scale. Not the reach. The ease. And Nkosi made that part clear without saying much at all. You don't build something like that overnight. You don't stumble into it. You design it. And once it's running, you don't stop it. You let it run through everything else. That's when I realized something. I hadn't been chasing a case. I'd been circling a system. And somewhere along the way, it started circling back. So, July showed up right on time, not to bring the heat. That part was already handled. July came to split things, work from reality, noise from signal, people from positions, and me. Right down the middle, because you can't stay small when something like Meridian knows your name. You either stay out of it, or you step into it. All the way, I lit a lucky I wasn't supposed to be carrying. Took a drag, then another. The cigarette had gone stale, sitting too long in the pack. Still burned the same. I watched the smoke hang for a second, before the heat pulled it apart. That's the thing about fire. It doesn't just burn what it touches, it changes everything around it. I dropped the cigarette, crushed it under my heel, and stepped off the curb. July doesn't ask, it divides. And this time, I was done standing in the middle. Chapter 1. Case File, Dawson. July 2026. It started like anything else that wasn't supposed to matter. A call. Not urgent. Not desperate. Just controlled enough to sound like it belonged somewhere else. Artemis forwarded it. He didn't say much. He never does when something's already halfway decided. Just a name. A time. An address that didn't raise any flags until you looked at it twice. You don't chase what's obvious. You follow what doesn't sit right. The office was quiet when the call came in. Not empty. Just still. Like something had already moved through it and didn't leave anything behind. I took the call at the front desk. The name on the phone. Dawson, Eric. No title. No company. No reason attached. That was the first tell. People with nothing to hide usually have something to say about themselves. People who don't either don't matter or matter too much. Artemis sat a folder on the desk. I flipped it open. Inside was thin. 3 pages. A photo. Client insists on discretion. Minimal exposure. Month, pay up front. Note that read, your call. I didn't react. Didn't need to. Some things don't hit you right away. They settle, then come back when you're not looking for them. I set the photo down and read the rest. Last confirmed sighting together, then just gone. I leaned back in the chair, and let the silence come back in. This was the kind of job that keeps the lights on. Simple. Contained. Find the wife, get paid, move on. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how it used to work. I closed the file. The room didn't change. It never does. Only the weight inside it. Mr. Dawson, consider me on the job. I'll make the first up this Friday and every Friday until the job is completed. Understand, I build the case, get the facts. I don't guarantee verdicts, convictions, or arrests. Just a clean investigation. The voice on the line agreed. I stood and crossed to the coat stand. The pea coat hung where it always did. Navy issued, heavy wool. Carried the kind of memory you don't wash out. I pulled it down and let it settle across my shoulders. Routine isn't habit, it's control. Drawer open. Colt Combat Elite Defender. 45 ACP, clean, oiled. Seated right. Magazine checked. Slide pulled once, eased forward. Safety on. Back where it belonged. Black gloves next. Reinforced knuckles. No shine. No sound. Brass stayed in the drawer. Not today. I reached for the pack on the desk. Lucky Strike still sitting there since South Africa. I took a second. I tapped one free and rolled it between my fingers. The paper felt off. Dry. Stale. Been sitting longer than it should have. I put it back. Left the pack where it was. Some things don't hit right until they're already off. I grabbed the file, took one last look at the desk, and stepped out. Outside, July pressed in like it had something to prove. Street noise, engines, voices moving past each other like none of it connected. But it always does. That's the part people miss. Everything connects. You just don't see it until it's already too late. The address sat in my pocket. Didn't feel like much, just ink on paper. Coordinates without context. I started walking. Not fast, not slow. Just enough pace to look like I belonged wherever I was headed. The Skylark sat a little way down the block. We started parking it there after the hit on the office. No point giving anyone a clean line twice. I opened the door. Heat rolled out like it had been waiting. I slid into the seat and turned the key. The engine caught on the second try. Low, steady, familiar. I let it idle. Didn't pull out yet. Just sat there with the file open across the wheel. Jessica Amber Dawson, 31. Nurse, Riverbend General. On paper, she was stable. Routine job. Predictable hours. Married 3 years. No priors. No flags. People like that don't disappear. They drift, they slip, or they get pushed. I flipped the page. There it was. Milo Nishant Cooper. Electrician. 34. Local work. No outstanding warrants. No recent charges. Not clean. Just quiet. That's different. Affairs aren't complicated. They're patterns. Repetition. Opportunity. People think they're hiding something new when all they're doing is running the same play slower. Late shifts. Missed calls. Small lies that don't hold up under light. You don't need to prove it. You just need to watch it long enough. I turned another page. Melissa Chapman. Bar clerk. 37. Sports bar. Best friend. That usually means one of two things. She knows everything. Or she's the one holding the door open. I closed the file halfway and looked out through the windshield. Street traffic moved like it always did. People going somewhere they understood for reasons that made sense to them. Nothing about this case felt like that. Missing wife. Known affair. Husband paying up front. That's not a search. That's confirmation. The question wasn't where Jessica Dawson went. It was what Mr. Dawson already knew, and what he needed me to prove. I picked the file back up and looked at the photo again. Jessica didn't look like someone running. She looked like someone deciding. There's a difference. People who run don't look back. People who decide already have. I set the photo down and shifted the car into gear. First stop wasn't the hospital. It never is. You don't start where the truth is supposed to be. You start where people stop pretending. I pulled out into traffic and headed toward the south side. 37 sat just off Monroe. Low lighting, cheap signage, the kind of place that doesn't care what time it is as long as you're spending money. Good place to talk. Better place to listen. I parked across the street and killed the engine. Didn't get out right away. Watched the door, counted the people going in and out. Patterns. Always patterns. 2 regulars. 1 couple. A delivery guy who didn't stay long enough to matter. No sign of her. Didn't expect one. This wasn't about Jessica. Not yet. This was about Melissa. I stepped out and crossed the street. The door opened before I touched it. Someone on the way out. Didn't look at me. Didn't need to. Inside smelled like stale beer and something fried too long ago to matter. Music. Low. TV louder. Bartender watching the game like it owed him something. I took a seat at the bar. Didn't order. Just waited. People talk when they think you're not listening. And people like Melissa Chapman, they talk more when they think they're in control of the story. She was easy to spot. Behind the bar. Mid-20s. Sharp eyes. Faster hands than the rest of the room. Not missing anything that mattered. That kind of awareness doesn't come from serving drinks. It comes from watching people break. She glanced at me once, then again. Longer the second time. Good. That meant she clocked me. I let her come over. "What'll it be?" she asked. Voice casual, posture relaxed, eyes working. "Information," I said. That got a shift. Small, but real. "Not on the menu," she replied. "No," I said. "But you serve it anyway." She didn't smile, didn't push back, just leaned slightly on the counter, closing distance without making it obvious. "That depends," she said. "On who's asking." Keller. That landed. Recognition. Not immediate, but not delayed either. Somewhere in between. Enough to matter. "Private?" she asked. "Enough." She studied me for a second, then nodded once. "Depends what you're looking for." Jessica Dawson. There it was. The reaction. Not shock, not surprise. Recognition. Followed by something else. Annoyance. "You're late," she said. "I'm on time," I replied. "For what?" "That depends," I said, "on whether she left or didn't get the chance." That hit. Clean. Her posture changed, just a fraction, but enough. "People leave all the time," she said. Yeah, I agreed. They don't usually leave their phone, their schedule, and their job behind. Silence. She didn't look away, didn't deflect, which meant she knew more than she was willing to say out loud. "You speak with her husband?" she asked. "No." "Then why do you care?" I said. "I get paid to." That was the truth, and the truth is easier to work with than a lie. She let that sit, then reached for a glass she didn't need to clean, gave her hand something to do. "Jessica wasn't unhappy," she said. "People don't have to be," I replied. "She wasn't looking to disappear." "No," I said. "She was looking for something else." Another pause. Then, "You talked to Milo?" she asked. "Not yet." "You should." "I will." She nodded again. Slow this time, like she was deciding something. "Last time I saw her," she said, "she wasn't with him." That mattered. Who was she with? Melissa hesitated. First real hesitation. "She didn't say," she replied. "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now." I leaned back slightly. Gave her space. People fill silence faster when you don't push them. She leave on her own? I asked. Melissa shook her head. Didn't look like it. That was enough. For now. I stood. Left cash on the bar. Didn't wait for change. Tell Milo I'll be by, I said. She didn't respond. Just watched me. Same way she had when I walked in. Only now. There was something else behind it. Not fear. Not concern. Recognition. Like she had just realized something she hadn't wanted to. I stepped back out into the heat. July hadn't cooled off. Didn't expect it to. I crossed the street toward the Skylark, pulling the file back out as I walked. Missing wife. Known affair. Witness who knew more than she said. Standard work. Should have been. But something about the timing didn't sit right. I stopped walking, looked at it again. I closed the file, because that was the moment it stopped being simple. Chapter 2. Case file, Dawson, J, July 2026. I reached the Skylark and opened the door. The heat hadn't let up. It never does in July. It just sits there, waiting for you to notice it again. I slid into the seat, dropped the file on the passenger side, and reached for the key. The phone rang before I could turn it. Not the burner. Personal. That narrowed it down. I let it ring once more before answering. Keller. Hey. Cindy. Same voice, same pace. Controlled, but not cold. Didn't think you still picked up that line, she said. I don't, I replied. Depends who's calling. A small pause. Not silence, consideration. Fair, she said. I leaned back slightly in the seat, eyes on the windshield, watching nothing in particular. You good? She asked. Working, I said. That usually answers the rest. That's not what I meant. I know. Another pause. Longer this time. She didn't fill it. That told me more than anything she could have said. Ajax around? I asked. Yeah. Put him on. He's tied up. That came too clean. No background noise, no movement, no shift in tone. Just an answer that had already been decided before I asked. Field, I said. Yeah. Local? She paused. No. That was enough. I didn't push it. Didn't ask where. Didn't need to. They weren't calling to bring me in. They were calling to let me know I wasn't. You heading out? I asked. Already moving, she said. Nice of you to check in first. That's not why I called. No, I said. It's not. She let that sit. Didn't correct it. Didn't argue. You working something? She asked. Local, I said. Missing wife. Husband paying to hear what he already knows. Infidelity? Looks like it. Looks like, she repeated. Yeah. That was as much as she was getting. Same as they were giving me. Be careful, she said. That sounds like a line. It is. Whose? Another pause. This one shorter. Mine, she said. I nodded once, even though she couldn't see it. Tell Ajax he still owes me a drink, I said. I will. And Cindy. Yeah. If it turns into something else. I let the rest hang. Didn't need to finish it. She understood. She always does. I know, she said. The line clicked dead a second later. No goodbye, no wrap. Just done. I set the phone down on the console and stared at it for a second. Cape Town. Didn't need it said out loud. Didn't need coordinates or confirmation. Ajax doesn't move like that unless something's already in motion. And if Cindy was calling ahead of it, wasn't small. I exhaled slowly and reached for the key again. Turned it. The engine caught. Same as before. Steady. Reliable. Didn't care who was calling or where they were going. That's the thing about machines. They don't read between the lines. People do. And right now, the line was clear. They were moving forward. And I wasn't part of it. I shifted into gear and pulled out into the street. Missing wife. Known affair. Local bar. Electrician. That was my lane. That's where the work was. That's where I stayed. At least. I knew the role well. Chapter 3. Case File. Dawson. J. July 2026. I pulled the Skylark onto First and headed toward Central. Traffic moved the way it always did in Riverbend. Tight where it didn't need to be, loose where it should have held. I didn't rush it. Cases like this don't get solved by getting there first. They get solved by getting there right. 20 minutes out, I cut east and slid into the residential district. Cider Bend Apartments sat where everything like it does. Close enough to the main road to feel connected. Far enough off it to keep people from paying attention. 3 floors. Beige siding. Balconies that held more smoke than conversation. I rolled into the lot and killed the engine. 3:31 p.m., daylight still hanging where it should have been. No reason for anything to feel off. But it did. I stepped out and let the heat settle over me. The place smelled like cut grass and stale air conditioning. A couple cars in the lot. Nothing special. Nothing out of place. Which meant it was. Unit 1401 sat at the far end, 2nd floor. I took the stairs instead of the walkway. Gives you a better angle. Lets you see who's watching before they know you're there. No one was. Or no one wanted to be. I reached the door and knocked once. Firm, not loud. Footsteps on the other side. Heavy. No hesitation. The door opened. Blonde hair, short beard. 6'2", maybe a little more. Shoulders built from work, not a gym. Milo Nishant Cooper. He didn't look surprised. That was the first problem. "Yeah?" he said. Voice steady. Eyes already measuring me. "Cooper," I said. "Keller." No badge. No introduction beyond that. Didn't need one. He took a second. Just long enough to decide how this was going to go. Then he stepped back. "Come on in," he said. That was the second problem. People with nothing to hide usually ask questions. People who don't either don't care or already know the answers. I stepped inside. The apartment was clean. Too clean for a guy who works with his hands. No tools out. No wires. No half-finished anything. Everything where it belonged, like someone had already gone through and made sure it stayed that way. I didn't comment, just took it in. "Jessica sent you?" he asked. There it was. Not "who are you?" Not "what do you want?" Straight to her. "No," I said. Her husband did. That landed. Small shift in his posture. Not much, but enough. "Figured," he said. Didn't sound surprised. Didn't sound concerned. Just prepared. "You gonna tell me she's missing?" he added. "I'm gonna ask you when you last saw her," I said. Same difference. He moved toward the kitchen, grabbed a glass off the counter, didn't pour anything into it. Just needed something in his hand. 2 nights ago, he said. She left around midnight. Left from here? Yeah. Alone? He took a second. Just one. Yeah, he said. There it was. Not the answer. The space before it. I let it sit. Didn't push. People fill silence faster when they think you already know what's in it. "You call her after?" I asked. "Couple times." "She answer?" "No." "Messages?" "Left a few." "What did you say?" He looked at me like he was deciding whether that mattered, then shrugged. "Nothing that would bring her back," he said. Honest. That was new. I stepped closer, slow enough not to register as pressure. "Jessica doesn't look like someone who runs," I said. "She didn't," he replied. That was quick. Too quick. "Then what does she look like?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Eyes moved past me for a second. Not to the door, not to a window. Somewhere else. Then back. Like someone who made up her mind, he said. Same writ I had. That wasn't good. About you? I asked. About everything. That tracked cleaner than I liked. I nodded once and glanced around the apartment again. Still clean. Still controlled. Still wrong. You work a lot? I asked. Enough. Late nights. Sometimes. 2 nights ago. Another pause. Shorter this time. Yeah. You sure about that? He looked at me, really looked this time. Why wouldn't I be? Because people who are sure don't need to think about it first. That landed. He set the empty glass down on the counter. Didn't pick it back up. You saying I'm lying? He asked. No, I said. I'm saying something doesn't line up. That your problem or mine? Depends how this goes. Silence again, this time heavier. He didn't feel it, didn't need to. I stepped back toward the door. Jessica have anything here? I asked. Not much. Clothes? Some. Phone? No. Left it? No. That was clean, too clean. Wallet? Yeah. Keys? He nodded. All of it? Another pause. There it was again. Small, but there. Yeah, he said. Not true. Didn't need to call it out yet. Not here. Not now. I reached for the door handle. Tell me if she comes back, I said. She won't, he replied. That was the third problem. I stopped, turned just enough to look at him. You sound sure, I said. I am. Why? He didn't hesitate this time. Because she was already gone before she walked out that door. That wasn't an answer. That was a statement. And statements like that don't come from guesswork. They come from knowing something you're not saying. I nodded once and stepped out into the hall. Didn't rush. Didn't look back. Because whatever Milo Cooper wasn't telling me was already moving ahead of me, and I was just catching up. Chapter 4. Case File. Dawson J. July 2026. 2 people. 2 stories. 2 days missing. That's where it stopped being simple. I left Milo's place with more questions than I walked in with. By the time I hit the lot and slid back into the Skylark, the angles were already shifting. I pulled out without thinking about it. If Jessica Dawson disappeared clean, it would have started here. Hospitals don't hide things well. Too many systems. Too many hands. Too many people touching the same information. If something's off, it shows up there first. Not obvious. Not loud. Just out of place. Traffic held steady through Central. I didn't rush it. Let the drive settle the details. Milo said she left around midnight. Melissa said she wasn't alone. Both sounded sure that was the problem. People who are sure don't usually agree. Riverbend General was already moving when I pulled in. ER entrance. Same as always. Controlled chaos that only looks chaotic if you don't understand it. Nurses cutting through lanes like they owned them. Doctors moving fast without looking rushed. Everything exactly where it should be. That's what you want to see. I stepped out, crossed the lot, and walked straight inside. Didn't stop at the desk. Didn't need to. No one flags you if you look like you belong. Dr. Megan Davis was on shift. Red hair pulled back, sleeves rolled, moving between patients with the rhythm of someone who's done it long enough not to think about it anymore. She saw me before I reached her, didn't stop walking, just adjusted her path and met me halfway. "Keller, you look like you're working," she said. "I am. That usually ends well." Not this time. That got a shift, small, controlled. "What do you need?" she asked. "I've got a missing person. Jessica Dawson. Nurse. Last known place of work. Here." That landed. Megan didn't react like most people do when they hear missing. No spike, no noise, just a clean intake. She turned and motioned for me to follow. We stepped off the floor into a quieter corridor. She didn't call out, Megan said. Didn't request leave, just gone. You already checked. I always check. What was her schedule? Evening rotation, 6 to 2. That lined up. Too clean. She finish her shift? I asked. No, she said. She left early. There it was. How early? Just after midnight. Same window, different version. Why? She didn't say. That like her? No. Immediate. No hesitation. That mattered. What was her condition? I asked. Megan looked at me for a second. Not as a doctor, as someone who knew how I worked. Focused, she said. Too focused. On what? She kept checking the board. Patience? Megan didn't answer right away. You're not going to like this, she said. I don't usually. She wasn't tracking patients, Megan said. She was tracking assignments. Her own? No. That shifted it. Someone else's? She nodded once. Who? I don't know, she said. That's the problem. That wasn't like her. She got a call, Megan added. Personal? Couldn't tell. She stepped away. How long? Less than a minute. And after? She came back, grabbed her things, said she had to go. What time was the call? Megan shook her head. Didn't check. You remember everything. I remember the moment, she said. Just not the time. That was the first miss. And Megan doesn't miss. Something else, I said. She didn't argue. She left her badge. That landed harder than the rest. Where? Her locker. That was enough. The locker room sat quiet behind the staff corridor. Rows of metal doors, most closed, some half open. Hers was unlocked. Megan opened it without ceremony. Uniforms, shoes, personal items. Then she paused. Not empty, she said. What does that mean? She stepped aside. Inside, tucked behind a folded jacket, sat something that didn't belong. A USB drive and a stack of business cards. I didn't touch them right away. I reached in and picked up one of the cards. No logos, no titles, just names. Nkosi Maseko, Rupert Hawthorne, Frank Marconi, Joseph Walsh. That's not networking, Megan said. No, I replied. That's structure. I slipped the USB into my pocket. Anyone else see this? No. Good. She looked at me again. This isn't a missing persons case anymore, is it? No, I said. It wasn't. Milo said she left him. Melissa said she wasn't alone. Megan said she walked out of a system that didn't track her exit. 3 angles, none of them lining up. That's not coincidence. That's design. I stepped back toward the main floor. Appreciate it, I said. Megan didn't move. Keller. I stopped. If this isn't what it looks like. It isn't, I said. She nodded once, didn't ask how I knew, didn't need to. Be careful, she said. That's 2 for 2 today. Maybe you should listen. I gave her a look. Maybe I should. Then I turned and walked out, back through the ER, back into the heat. July hadn't changed, but the case had. And now it wasn't just about finding Jessica Dawson. It was about figuring out what she stepped into, and why no one saw her leave. I stepped out of the hospital with the USB sitting heavier than it should have in my pocket. Not because of what it was, but because of what it meant. People don't hide things like that unless someone else is looking for them. And if someone was looking for it, then Jessica Dawson didn't just disappear. She moved ahead of something that was already closing in. That left one question. Not where she went, But who got there first? Chapter 5. Case File. Dawson, J. July 2026. People lie. Spouses lie worse. But when something disappears, you don't look at what's left behind. You look at what was taken. And right now, I already had one piece of it sitting in my pocket. That's where the truth slips. When you're working a missing persons case, you don't look at what's left behind. You look at what's gone. A nurse walking off shift and leaving her badge behind like she wasn't coming back. That doesn't line up. And when 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, you stop forcing the answer. You change the angle. You look for what's missing. And right now, Eric Dawson was starting to feel like part of that equation. I got back in the Skylark and pulled out of the hospital lot. I went to the husband, because whatever version of the story he gave me the first time wasn't the one I needed. The Dawson house sat off Jacaranda Avenue, just past the turn onto 88th Street. Quiet stretch. Mid-range homes. The kind of neighborhood people move into when they think things are supposed to hold. I pulled up to the curb and killed the engine. No movement outside, no cars, no neighbors pretending not to look. Just still. That was the first tell. I stepped out and approached the front door. Didn't knock right away. Listened first. Nothing. No television, no footsteps, no movement inside. I knocked once. Firm. Waited. No answer. Knocked again. Same result. That was enough. The door was open. That told me everything before I stepped inside. The place had been hit, not messy, not rushed, professional. I adjusted my gloves, drew the Colt, and stepped in. Furniture shifted, but not overturned. Drawers open, but not emptied. Papers scattered, but not searched. It looked like a search, but it didn't feel like one. I closed the door behind me and moved through the living room. Didn't call out, didn't announce. No point. If Eric Dawson was here, he would have answered. If he wasn't, then I was already late. Couch cushions displaced. Coffee table off center. A glass on the floor near the far leg. Unbroken. Just out of place. I crouched. No liquid, no residue, clean. Too clean. Like it had been placed there after everything else was done. I moved into the kitchen. Cabinets open, but not all of them. Just enough to say someone checked. Countertops clear. No dishes, no interruption. This wasn't anger. There'd be damage. This wasn't panic. There'd be mess. This was controlled. I moved down the hallway, bedroom door open. Same story. Closet disturbed, but not emptied. Clothes pulled, then dropped. Drawers opened just enough to leave a mark, but nothing missing. Not at first glance. Then I saw it. The nightstand, one drawer open, the other. Closed. I stepped closer and pulled it open. Empty. No wallet, no keys. No phone. That part tracked, but the dust didn't. There was a gap. Clean. Rectangular. Something had been there. Something small. Something that mattered enough to leave a mark and get taken. I checked the second drawer. Different pattern. Multiple impressions. Thin. Stacked. Cards. Gone. I stood there for a second. Because that's the difference. People don't notice what's gone. They notice what's left behind. And right now, Eric Dawson wasn't here. His wife wasn't here. The USB wasn't here. The cards weren't here. I stepped back into the hallway, looked through the house one more time, slower, more deliberate. This wasn't a search, I said under my breath. It was a retrieval. Someone came in knowing exactly what they were looking for. They hit the right room, the right drawer, the right items, and they missed them. I already had what they came for, which meant this wasn't over. It had just shifted. I reached for my phone, paused, then put it back. Not yet. Not until I knew what I was calling in, because this wasn't a missing persons case anymore, and it wasn't domestic, not even close. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Didn't lock it. Didn't need to. Anyone who needed access already had it. I stopped before getting back into the Skylark, looked down Jacaranda, then back toward 88th. Quiet, clean, nothing out of place, until you knew where to look. Chapter 6. Case File, Dawson J., July 2026. I finally pulled the phone from my pocket, wishing it was a Lucky. It would have done me more good. I dialed anyway. Second ring. 132nd. Officer Ronald Douglas speaking. Hey, Ronnie, it's Marty. There was a brief pause, then the shift. Keller. Been a minute. What's going on? Working a case, I said. Need a couple black and whites to roll over to 88th and Jacaranda. No hesitation. Yeah, we can do that. You want Dennis to swing by? I didn't answer right away. I looked back at the house. Front door closed. Street quiet. Nothing moving that shouldn't be. Dennis Halpern didn't do quiet. He did thorough. Sometimes those weren't the same thing. I let it sit for a second, then made the call. Yeah. Have Dennis come. Copy that. And Ronnie. Yeah? Bring a K9 unit with him. That got a pause. Short, but real. All right, he said. You got something? Working on it. Another beat. Understood. Tell them to come in with the berries off, I added. No lights, no noise, no reason for the neighborhood to start asking questions before I had answers. Got it, Ronnie said. We'll keep it quiet. Appreciate it. I ended the call before he could ask anything else. Whatever this was, it wasn't ready for uniforms and questions just yet. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and took one more look at the house. Same stillness, same controlled quiet, but now it had a clock on it. Whatever had been done inside was about to get looked at a little closer, whether it wanted to or not. I didn't get back in the car, not yet. Instead, I moved off the curb and took a slow walk down 88th, keeping the house in my peripheral. Different angles, different sight lines. You'd be surprised what changes when you stop looking at something straight on. The street held. No movement behind curtains. No cars circling back. No one stepping out to see what didn't belong. Clean. Too clean. I stopped at the corner where 88th met Jacaranda and looked back. Same house. Same stillness. But now I had context. This wasn't rushed. Nobody kicked doors in. Nobody tore the place apart looking for something they couldn't find. They knew where to go. They knew what mattered. And they took it without leaving anything behind that pointed back at them. Except one thing. The gap. That clean rectangle in the nightstand drawer. That was the story. Not what they touched. What they took. And more importantly, what they didn't. I turned back toward the house and headed for the Skylark just as the first unit rolled in. No lights, no siren. Just a slow glide down Jacaranda like they were looking for an address that didn't want to be found. They showed up fast. Dennis stepped out of the cruiser already reading the scene. Keller. Halpern. No handshake. Didn't need one. He glanced at the house, then back at me. Bad day? He asked. Depends how you look at it. We walked toward the door together. What have we got? Missing wife, I said. 2 days. Now the husband's gone. That got his attention. Connected? Feels like it. That's not an answer. It's what I've got. He held that for a second, then nodded. All right. Walk me through it. The second unit pulled in behind him. K9 in the back. Handler already out, leash in hand, dog alert, but controlled. Good. They were taking it seriously. I led Dennis to the door. Wife leaves work early, I said. Doesn't come back. Husband hires me. Affair in play. Witness timelines don't line up. Standard so far, Dennis said. Yeah, I replied, until it isn't. We reached the door, still unlocked. Dennis clocked it immediately. You didn't touch anything? He asked. Just enough to know it was wrong. He didn't like that answer. Didn't argue it either. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. I followed. The K9 came in last. The dog paused just inside the threshold. Head up. Not sniffing yet. Reading. That's always the first tell. The handler gave a quiet command. The dog started working. Slow, deliberate. Not pulling, not tracking a fresh trail. That wasn't good. Dennis moved through the living room the same way I had. Eyes first, hands later. What am I looking at? He asked. Controlled search, I said, but not for everything. Meaning, they knew what they wanted. He crouched near the glass on the floor. Too clean, he said. Yeah. He stood and moved toward the hallway. The K9 shifted direction, pulling slightly toward the bedroom. The handler let him go. Got something, he said. We followed. The dog stopped just inside the bedroom door. Not aggressive, not alerting hard, just focused. On the nightstand. Same drawer, same gap. Dennis glanced at me. Whatever was in that drawer, he said. That's why this house got hit. Yeah. He checked the second drawer. Different pattern. Multiple impressions. Thin, stacked. Cards? Gone. Dennis straightened. That's not random, he said. No, I replied. It's targeted. We stood there for a second, both looking at the same empty space. Dennis and I go back far enough to know when the other one sees it. This wasn't a search, he said. It was a retrieval. He nodded, and they missed it. Yeah. That made it worse, because now they knew someone else had it, and that someone was me. I stepped outside before Dennis could ask anything else. The air didn't feel the same anymore. Not because the case changed, but because I did. I wasn't looking for Jessica Dawson anymore. I was holding something someone else was already moving to take back. Chapter 7. Case File. Dawson J. July 2026. When an investigation starts to feel cold, it usually isn't. It just means something got missed. The questions were wrong, the answers were accepted too quickly, or the detail that didn't look like much at the time turned out to matter later. Cases don't stall. People do. You stop pushing, you stop looking, and you convince yourself you've reached the end, when all you've really done is walk past the part that mattered. The Dawson house didn't stall anything. It gave something up. Clean. Quiet. Sitting in that drawer like it didn't belong there anymore. That gap wasn't empty. It was pointing, and now it was my job to figure out where. I leaned against the Skylark for a moment and let the scene settle behind me. Dennis had his people moving, the K9 working angles that weren't going to give him anything new, and the neighbors were starting to notice just enough to stay behind their doors. That part was done. What mattered now was who I had already talked to, because one of them didn't just miss something. They held it back. Melissa. Milo. 2 conversations. 2 versions. Neither one clean. I pushed off the car, slid into the driver's seat, and started the engine. This part wasn't about time. It was about pressure. I pulled off Jacaranda, rolled down 88th, and cut back toward Monroe. I didn't head for Milo. That would have been the easy move, and easy moves get rehearsed answers. Melissa hadn't been ready the first time. That's where you start. 37 looked the same from the outside. It always does. Places like that don't change. They just keep running the same story until someone forces a different ending. I parked in the same spot and watched the door for a moment before going in. Same traffic. Same rhythm. Different feel. Once you know something's off, everything starts to look like it's hiding it. Inside, nothing had shifted. Same smell, same noise, same bartender watching something that didn't matter. Melissa was behind the bar again, in the same position, but this time she saw me coming and didn't pretend otherwise. She met me halfway down the counter. "That was quick," she said. "Not quick enough," I replied. That slowed her down. "What changed?" she asked. I took a seat and let the silence sit for a second before answering. "Eric Dawson's missing," I said. That landed. Not like shock, but it broke something loose. "That doesn't make sense," she said. "No," I agreed. "It doesn't." She leaned back slightly, arms crossing without thinking about it. "Police involved?" she asked. "Yeah." "Then why are you here?" "Because they're looking at what happened," I said. "I'm looking at why." She didn't like that answer. "Jessica didn't just walk out," I said. "You knew that before I asked." "I didn't. You said she wasn't alone," I cut in. "You just didn't say who." She held eye contact this time. "I didn't know," she said. "Try again." She hesitated, then adjusted. "I didn't know his name." That was closer. "What did you know?" "He wasn't from here," she said. "How do you know?" "Because Jessica didn't talk about him like that." "Like what?" "Like he was part of her life," she said. "More like something she stepped into." That didn't track with an affair. Affairs build. They repeat. They don't just appear. "When did she meet him?" She didn't say, but she changed. Melissa nodded. "Yeah." "How?" "She stopped asking questions," she said. "About everything. Work. Milo. Me. It was like she already had the answers. That wasn't emotional. That was decided." "Last time you saw her, she was with him," I said. Melissa shook her head. "No." That stopped me. "You said she wasn't alone." "Not that he was there," she replied. That shifted it. "Then who was with her?" She didn't answer right away. Her focus moved inward, replaying it. "She got a call," she said. That lined up. "Before she left?" "Yeah." "What happened after?" She didn't finish her drink, just stood up and walked out. "Did she say anything?" "No." "Did she look back?" Melissa shook her head without hesitation. "Phone number?" I asked. "I don't have it." "Try again." "I don't," she said. "But I've seen it." "Where?" "On her screen. A couple times." "What did it look like?" She frowned, thinking. Didn't look local. Too many numbers. International. That didn't fit the rest of the case. I stood, left cash on the bar, and turned to go. "Hey," Melissa said. I stopped. "If this isn't what it looks like." "It isn't," I said. Same answer. Same truth. "Then what is it?" she asked. I didn't respond, because I didn't have it yet. But I had enough. I stepped back out into the heat. This time, it didn't feel the same. The case wasn't split anymore. It was shifting. Milo lied. Melissa held back. Megan saw something that didn't exist. Eric Dawson was gone. I crossed back to the Skylark and opened the door, the file still in my hand. I didn't get in right away. I stood there for a second and let it settle. Because now I knew what I missed. Not the time. Not the place. The pattern. This wasn't about who Jessica Dawson was with. It was about who she answered. And whoever was on the other end of that call didn't just change her direction. They controlled it. That's when the case stopped being about finding someone and started being about understanding what I had just stepped into. Chapter 8. Case File. Dawson J. July 2026. I didn't notice the shadows right away. That part was on me. I was halfway through connecting pieces that didn't want to connect. Jessica, Eric, Milo, Meridian, and I let the rest of the world drop out while I did it. The lot hadn't changed, but something in it had. Air shifts when people step into it with purpose. You feel it when you're paying attention. I wasn't. Not until I heard it. Boots, hard soles striking asphalt. Controlled, measured. Not loud, but not trying to be quiet either. That's what gave them away. I turned just enough to catch the movement in the reflection off the Skylark's window. 2 of them, closing distance without rushing. No hesitation. No wasted motion. Professionals don't run. They arrive. I reached for the brass knuckles out of habit and came up empty. Desk drawer, next to the stale pack of Luckies. I left it behind. Bad timing. Worse mistake. I shifted my stance, easing away from the car just enough to give myself space. No cover. No darkness to disappear into. Nothing to break the line between us. They had the advantage, which meant this wasn't about avoiding it. It was about surviving it. "Evening," one of them said. The voice was steady. Not local. Not trying to be. I didn't answer. Talking gives people time. They already had enough. The first one moved without warning. Fast, direct, no telegraph. I pivoted, caught the edge of his shoulder with my forearm, and redirected just enough to keep him from landing clean. The second didn't wait. That's the problem with 2. You handle one, the other finishes it. The hit came low and hard into my ribs. Clean contact. Air left my lungs before I could stop it. I staggered, caught myself against the Skylark, and stayed on my feet. Barely. The first one recovered quickly and came back in, not swinging this time, but reaching, trying to control position. That told me everything I needed to know. They weren't here to kill me. They were here to send a message. I drove my elbow back into his midsection, felt it land just enough to break his grip, then turned through the motion and created space. Not much. Enough. The second stepped in again from a different angle. Smarter this time. I saw it coming too late. The strike caught me high along the side of the head, placed just right. My vision blurred for a second. Sound dropped out, and the ground came up faster than I expected. My hands hit the asphalt and held. I didn't stay down. I couldn't. I pushed myself back up, slower now, one hand braced against the car, ribs tightening with every breath. They didn't rush me. They didn't need to. Both of them stood there, watching, measuring, the same way they came in. Controlled. Precise. "Stay out of it," the first one said. Not a threat. A direction. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. Blood. Not much, but enough to remind me where I stood. Out of what? I asked. He didn't answer, didn't clarify, didn't need to. The second stepped closer, just inside comfort, not close enough to strike, close enough to make the point. "You're working a job," he said. "Work the job and let it go." Same tone, same control, different voice, same message. I straightened as much as my ribs would let me. "That all?" I said. There was a pause. Then the first one spoke again. "Next time won't be." That was the only threat I was going to get, and the only one I needed. They stepped back in sync, turned, and walked off the way they came. No rush. No look back. Just gone. Like they had somewhere else to be. I stayed where I was for a moment and let the world settle back into place. Sound came back first, then focus, then the pain. Ribs were going to bruise. Head was going to split later. Nothing broken. Nothing I couldn't work through. That wasn't the point. I pushed off the car and stood there in the heat, breathing slow and controlled, because now I had something I didn't have before. Confirmation. This case wasn't just dirty, It was protected. And whatever Jessica Dawson stepped into was big enough to send 2 professionals to make sure I didn't follow. I opened the car door and slid into the seat. I didn't start the engine right away, didn't reach for the file. I just sat there and let the message settle. Stay in your lane. Work the job. Don't ask the wrong questions. I turned the key. The engine came to life, steady and indifferent, like nothing had changed. I pulled out of the lot and merged back into the street. Because that's the thing about messages like that. They only work if you listen. And I wasn't planning to. Chapter 9. Case File. Dawson J. July 2026. Someone sold me out. That part wasn't a question. 2 men don't show up that clean, that fast, without a reason. They weren't guessing. They weren't circling. They came straight to me like they already knew where I'd be and when I'd be there. That doesn't happen on a missing persons case. Not unless the case isn't what it looks like. I kept the Skylark steady through the turn, one hand on the wheel, the other resting low against my ribs. Pain was settling in now. Not sharp, just present. The kind that reminds you it's going to get worse before it gets better. Good. Means I was still in it. Jessica didn't sell me out. She's missing. Eric didn't either. Man doesn't hire me, pay up front, then set me up before disappearing himself. That's not how that works. Whatever he knew, he didn't get the chance to use it. Melissa didn't have the time. I ran it back in my head. From the moment I walked into 37 to the second I stepped back into the lot. No gap big enough to make a call, pass a description, and get 2 men in place ahead of me. Not clean like that. Not without me seeing it. Which left one name. That left Milo. I didn't like it. Didn't mean it was wrong. He knew I was coming, knew what I was asking. Knew enough to start shaping the story before I even finished the questions. And more than that, he wasn't surprised. Not when I showed up, not when I pushed, not when I left. That kind of calm doesn't come from innocence. It comes from preparation. I slowed at the light, letting the car idle as I watched traffic cross in front of me. Everything moving like it was supposed to. People going somewhere that made sense to them. Meanwhile, I was heading back to a man who already lied to my face. Only this time, it wasn't going to be a conversation. It was going to be a correction. I made the turn toward Cider Bend and rolled back into the lot slower than before. Different approach. Same place. I didn't park in the same spot. Took a space farther out. Gave myself a wider view of the building. 2nd floor. Unit 1, 4. 01. No movement on the balcony. No lights shifting behind the blinds. Quiet. Too quiet. I stepped out and closed the door without a sound. Didn't head straight for the stairs. Circled once, checked the corners, watched the sight lines the way I should have the first time. Nothing. Or nothing they wanted me to see. I took the stairs this time, slower, listening between steps. No voices, no movement inside the units, no television bleed through the walls. Just still air and the sound of my own breathing settling back into rhythm. I reached the door and stopped. Didn't knock, didn't announce, just listened. Same as before. Nothing. That was different. Last time, he was ready. Footsteps, movement, presence. Now, nothing. I reached for the handle, turned it, unlocked. That made 2 houses in one day. Same mistake, or the same message. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Apartment hadn't changed. Still clean, still controlled, still wrong. But now, it felt empty. Not quiet. Empty. I moved through the living room, slower than before. Eyes on the details I missed the first time. No glass out. No signs of recent movement, no shift in anything that said someone was still using the space. I stepped into the kitchen. Same counter, Same glass, same position. Untouched. That told me everything I needed to know. He didn't leave, he was taken. Just like Eric, I turned toward the hallway, bedroom door open, same layout, same precision. Only this time, I wasn't looking for what was out of place, I was looking for what matched. And there it was. Nightstand, drawer. Open. Not empty. Not this time. I stepped closer. Slow. Careful, because whatever they missed wasn't meant to be found. Inside the drawer sat a single piece of paper, folded once, centered. Too clean to belong there by accident. I didn't touch it right away, just looked at it. Because that's the difference between a mistake and a message. Mistakes get left behind. Messages get placed. I reached in and picked it up. Light, thin, unmarked on the outside. I unfolded it once, then again, and stopped, didn't react, didn't move, just read. Because whatever was on that page was the reason two men showed up in a parking lot to tell me to walk away. And the reason Milo Cooper wasn't here to explain it? I folded it back up, slower this time, and slipped it into my coat. Then I stepped back out into the hallway, closed the door behind me, and headed for the stairs. Because the case wasn't asking questions anymore. It was answering them, and I was finally starting to hear it. Chapter 10. Case File. Dawson J., July 2026. I got back into the Skylark and sat there for a second before moving, not because I didn't know where I was going, but because I needed a minute to think. I opened the glove box, reached in, and pulled out the cassette. Old plastic, worn edges, the kind of thing that still worked because it had to. I slid it into the deck. The head caught it with a soft click. Then came the static. Low pops as the magnet rolled over the tape, finding its place. Analog, imperfect, honest. Kids these days wouldn't understand it. Everything they hear is clean, processed, corrected before it ever reaches them. This had weight. Alice in Chains cut through the static a second later, low and heavy, sitting right where it needed to. I pulled out into the street and let it ride. Didn't rush, didn't push the engine, just drove. Sometimes the only way to make sense of something is to stop forcing it. The note sat in my coat pocket. I didn't need to take it out again. I already knew what it said, knew what it meant, and more importantly, knew what it didn't explain. N. Maseko, South Africa number, international. Not random. Nothing about this case was random anymore. Then the rest of it. Pricing. Not dollars. Not anything that tied back clean. Diamond currency. Same scale, same structure. 1 through 5. That wasn't a transaction. That was a system. I tightened my grip on the wheel slightly, ribs reminding me I wasn't moving as clean as I thought I was. 2 men in a parking lot. Milo gone. Eric gone. Jessica stepping out of her life like she already knew what came next. And somewhere in the middle of it, a name tied to something that didn't belong anywhere near Riverbend. I made the turn toward the office and pulled in without slowing. This was where it started to come together, or fall apart. Same difference. Artemis was already in the main room when I walked in. Wall of monitors lit up in front of him. Data rolling. Screens shifting. Everything moving faster than most people could track. He didn't turn right away. "You're late," he said. I got held up. That got a glance, then a full turn. His eyes ran over me once, taking in the posture, the movement, the way I was holding my side. "Are you in need of my nursing skills?" he asked, "or a better use of my time?" "Neither," I said. "Just answers." I stepped up to the desk and handed him the paper. That was enough. Artemis unfolded it slowly, eyes moving across it with more care than I expected. "That's not local," he said. "No, not even close." "I know. Where did you get this?" Milo's place. And Milo? Gone. That shifted him, not much, but enough. "Give me a second," he said, turning back to the screens. Keys moved. Data pulled. Layers opened. "That name," he said. "You've heard it before." "Yeah." "South Africa." "Yeah." "That's not coincidence." "No," I said. "It's not." The screen shifted again. Call routing, international traces, fragments of something that didn't want to be tracked. "Numbers real," Artemis said, "but it's not clean, routed, masked." Meaning? Meaning whoever's using it doesn't want to be found. "That makes two of us." "The pricing," he said, bringing up another layer. "You see this?" "Yeah." "That's not a list." I figured. That's a scale. Tiered. Consistent. 1 through 5. Exactly. I leaned against the desk, ribs tightening again. "Run financials," I said. "Jessica, Eric, Milo." He didn't respond, just kept typing. "Hell with it," I added. "Run all of them." That got a look, not questioning, just acknowledgement. "Let's see what they didn't want you to see." I moved to the couch and dropped into it, letting the ceiling come into view. Same cracks, same lines. Nothing changed, except everything under it. "Jessica first," Artemis said. "Surface accounts are clean." "Too clean." Agreed. He layered deeper. Secondary institutions, mirrored transactions. "There," he said. A new structure came up, not in her name, but tied to her activity. "Layered account," he said. "Mirrored transactions, hidden inside normal spending." "How much?" "Not much per move, but over time." He didn't finish. He didn't need to. "Eric," I said. "Same pattern," Artemis replied. That landed harder. "They're both in it." "They're both routed through it," he corrected. "And Milo? Different. Dirty. Cash deposits. No structure. Meaning. He's not running it. He's near it." That tracked. "Anything else?" Artemis paused, then shifted screens again. "Yeah," he said. "This." He clicked into the USB. Video. Grainy at first. Low light. Container interior. Metal walls. No cargo. Movement. People. They didn't rush. Didn't speak. Just moved in a line that felt rehearsed. Disoriented but not resisting. Escorted by figures that stayed just out of full frame. Doors opened. Closed. Another container. Same pattern. No noise except the metal. No chaos. Just process. I didn't say anything. Artemis didn't either. Megan stepped in behind us at some point. I didn't hear the door. Didn't hear her cross the room. "What is that?" she said quietly. I didn't answer, because I already knew. "That's not smuggling," she said. "No," I replied. "That's movement." The video looped. Different angle. Same containers. Same people. 5 ports. 5 rotations. 5 disappearances. "They're not shipping product," Megan said. "They're moving people." Artemis nodded once. "And cleaning the record after." I leaned back slightly, ribs pushing back. "Run the timing," I said. He did. "Rotational windows," he said. 5-port cycle. Everything clears at the same interval. 12:47, I said. He didn't look at me, just nodded. That was enough. Megan stepped fully into the room now, already moving. "What happened to you?" she said. "Parking lot." "Who?" Didn't leave names. She checked me over without asking. Professional first. Always. "Ribs are bruised. Head's light," she said. "You'll live." "Good." She looked at the screens again. "That's what got you hit?" "Probably." "That or I asked the wrong question." "That's usually the same thing." I looked back at the monitors. Jessica, Eric, Milo. Names tied to something bigger. A system that moved money clean, people cleaner, and erased both before anyone could track it. "Keep digging," I said. "Already am," Artemis replied. I glanced at Megan. "Patch me enough to keep moving." She held my gaze. "I don't patch people for that." "Tonight you do." A pause. Then she exhaled. "Sit still." That was agreement. Good enough, because this wasn't slowing down. And neither was I. Chapter 11. Case File. Dawson. J. July 2026. Megan didn't like it. Not the case. Not the work. Me. More specifically, the part of me that never stepped back once things started moving. She worked in outcomes. Stabilize. Treat. Recover. I worked in momentum. Find it. Follow it. Don't let it die. Those two don't line up clean. But she still showed up. Every time. I felt it in the way she worked. Not rushed, not careless, just tighter than usual. Every movement measured like she was compensating for something she couldn't control. "You need 48 hours, she said, pressing along my ribs again. "Minimum." "I don't have it." "I know," she replied. "That doesn't change the fact that you need it." We both knew how this part went. She stepped back slightly, arms folding before dropping again. "So I'm adjusting," she said. "To what?" 12. I looked at her. She didn't soften it. "I'm demanding 12 hours. No movement." "That's not how this works." "It is now." I let it sit. Because this wasn't about winning. "Fine," I said. 12. She held it. Then nodded once. Agreement. Artemis never stopped working. "Jessica's account just updated," he said. That cut through everything. "She's not active," Megan said. "Account is," Artemis replied. That wasn't good. "What kind of activity?" I asked. "Microtransfer, small." "Live." "From where?" "Same routing pattern. Layered. Obscured." That tracked. "That means she's still in play," I said. "Or the system she's tied to is," Artemis corrected. Same difference. Screens shifted. Data stacked. Patterns formed. "This isn't random," Artemis said. "It's scheduled." That word stuck. How scheduled? Repeating intervals. Consistent structure. Not banking. Logistics. "Eric," I said. "Same pattern." "Milo?" "Drops off completely." Gone. But the system didn't stop. "That means whatever they were part of," I said. "It keeps running without them." "It does," Artemis said. Megan glanced at me. "You're already moving again." She wasn't wrong. Didn't change anything. "Give me the window," I said. Artemis didn't ask. "Docks," he said. "Yeah. All major ports in Florida. That's where it lands." "Then that's where I need to go." The clock rolled. 12:46. Artemis leaned forward slightly. "Watch." 12:47. The system didn't crash. It compressed. Routing logs shortened. Connections dropped. Accounts cleared. Everything that mattered. Removed. 12:48. Back. Same systems, same structure, different data, clean. Megan stared at the screens. "That's not possible." "No," Artemis said. "It's controlled." I already knew. The docks didn't change. That's the problem. They never do. Whatever happened there already made its change and covered its tracks. Only something in the rhythm shifted. Subtle. Just enough. We ran the count once. Twice. One was gone, no gap, no disruption. Artemis said. Same pattern. Same. I looked out across the wall at the clock. 12:47, I said. Yeah, Artemis replied. Not a time, a system, and whatever moved through it was already gone. Chapter 12. Case file, Dawson, July 2026. I dug out my cell phone. Some calls you make because you need information. Others, you make because you already have it, and you need someone who understands what it means. I scrolled once and hit the number. Olivia Lopez. She answered on the third ring. Didn't give me a chance to speak. Keller. That stopped me for half a second. Not because she picked up, because she already knew. Who else would be calling me at 12:50 in the morning? She added. Then, you saw it. Not a question. Confirmation. Yeah, I said. I saw it. A pause. Not hesitation. Alignment. Pier, she asked. Yeah. Which one? All of them, I said. Port Calusa, Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami. You're sure? 48 to 72 hours, I replied. That's your window. Another pause. Short. Measured. She wasn't processing. She was already moving. Done, she said. No follow-up, no doubt. Just action. That's why I called her. Get eyes on Pier 7 in Port Calusa first, I added. That's where it lines up. It will be, she said. I believed her. Because Olivia Lopez doesn't guess. She positions. You're coming down, she said. Again, not a question. Yeah, good. No hesitation, no warning. Just acceptance. Where do we meet? I asked. Port Calusa, she said. Keep it tight. Keep it quiet. Always do. Not always, she replied. That was fair. The line went quiet for a second. Not dead, just settled. Be careful, Keller, she said. That's 3 tonight. Maybe it means something. Maybe, I said. I ended the call before it turned into something else, because right now, this wasn't about caution. It was about timing. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, thinking to myself, same water, same stacks of containers pretending they weren't part of something bigger. But now, bigger issues were connected, not by routes, not by companies. By time, 1 minute, that's all it took. 1 minute to move humans across cities without leaving a trace behind. Riverbend, Port Calusa, Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami. All tied together by something that didn't show up on paper, didn't leave logs, didn't make mistakes. And now, we were moving into it, not around it, not near it, through it. Because the next 48 hours, we're going to decide whether this stayed a missing wife case or turned into something else entirely. I looked at Artemis. We're heading back to Port Calusa, I said. Already on it, he replied. Private charter. Wheels up in under an hour. Where? I asked. Marburg airstrip, he said. I checked the time without thinking. Did the math. Cutting it close. We don't have time to do it any other way. That was the truth. Lopez is moving, I said. I figured, Artemis replied. That's why I didn't wait. A pause. Short. Clean. You saw it, he added. Yeah. And? That wasn't movement, I said. That was removal. Same read, he replied. And it's not isolated. No, Artemis said. It's networked. That word sat right where it needed to. Ports? I asked. All major ones will light up, he said. That's where everyone's going to look. Yeah, I replied. And? He pressed. He didn't respond right away. Didn't need to. He already saw it. They don't run through where people are watching, I said. No, he agreed. They don't. Which means we're already behind it. Maybe, he said. I didn't like that answer. Didn't argue it either. I stood there for a second longer, let the weight of it settle. Riverbend was done, at least for now. Jessica, Eric, Milo, all of it pointed somewhere else. And now, we were finally moving toward it. The drive to Marburg was clean. No traffic worth mentioning. No lights I couldn't clear. Just road and time counting down faster than I liked. The kind of drive where your head stays ahead of the car. Running angles. Running outcomes. Running the part of the case that doesn't wait for you to catch up. By the time we pulled onto the strip, the jet was already there. Engines live. Lights low. No markings worth reading. Artemis doesn't do commercial when things move like this. He does control. I killed the engine and stepped out. Air felt different out there. Open. Unrestricted. The kind of space where things leave without being seen. That fit. We climbed the steps and stepped inside. The cabin was quiet. Controlled. Same as everything he ran. Screens already up. Data already moving. Didn't wait for me. Didn't need to. We lifted within minutes. No delay. No clearance chatter worth hearing. Just up and out. Riverbend dropping away beneath us like it didn't have anything left to say. "Walk me through it again," Artemis said once we leveled. I did. Docks, container, disappearance, 1247. No gaps. No trace. He listened without interrupting. Didn't ask questions until I finished. "Timing holds across regions," he said. "We've got parallel spikes in Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami. And Port Calusa. Yes, that's where Lopez is focusing." "As she should," he said. I leaned back slightly, ribs reminding me I wasn't as clean as I needed to be. "That's where everyone's going to focus," I said. Artemis looked at me. Didn't say anything. Just waited. "They don't move through pressure," I continued. "They move around it." "That's an assumption." "It's a pattern," I said. He didn't argue it. Didn't confirm it either. Just logged it. Below us, the coastline started to shift. Dark water breaking against lines of light that stretched farther than they should. Florida. Close enough now. "Lopez will have eyes on every major port," Artemis said. "Yeah. State and local." "Yeah. That's a lot of coverage." "That's the point," I replied. He held that. Then, "You think we're being positioned." "I think we're being shown where to look," I said, "and missing where not to." That sat between us. Not comfortable, not clean, but real. The cabin went quiet after that. Just engine noise, low, steady. The kind of sound that lets your thoughts run too far ahead if you're not careful. I didn't sleep, didn't close my eyes, just watched the darkness shift below us as we cut through it. Because somewhere out there, something was already moving, and we were heading straight into it, thinking we knew where it would surface. We touched down 4 hours later. Port Calusa waiting. Lights up. Units already moving. Lopez in position. Everything exactly where it was supposed to be. And that's when I knew we were in the right place, at the right time, with the right people, looking in the wrong direction. Chapter 13. Case file. Dawson, July 2026. The wheels touched down hard enough to feel, not rough, just real. The kind of landing that reminds you you're not above anything. You're dropping back into it. Page Field Airstrip stretched out under low light, quiet for what it was. No commercial traffic. No noise beyond what needed to be there. The kind of place people use when they don't want to be seen arriving. Artemis was already up before we came to a full stop. Didn't rush. Didn't wait. Just moved like the next step had already been decided before we ever left the ground. I followed him down the steps and onto the tarmac. Florida air hit different than Riverbend. Heavier, thicker. Carried salt even this far inland. The kind of air that sticks to you whether you want it to or not. Engines wound down behind us. Silence settled in quick. Not empty. Controlled. Lopez stood near the edge of the strip, already in motion. 2 SUVs behind her. Lights off, doors open. People moving in and out with purpose. Not chaos, not confusion. Coordination. That's how she works. She saw us the second we cleared the wing. Didn't wave, didn't signal. Just adjusted her position and let us come to her. "Keller," she said. "Lopez." No handshake, no pause. Artemis stopped just off my shoulder. "Timing lines up," he said. "It always does," she replied. Her eyes moved between us once, took in the posture, the way I was holding myself, the way Artemis wasn't. "You look like you caught resistance," she said. "Nothing I can't work through." "That wasn't what I asked." "It's the answer you're getting." She held it for a second, then let it go. Because this wasn't the place for it. "Walk with me," she said. We fell in beside her as she moved toward the vehicles. "State's already in place," she continued. "Local units are staged but off-grid. No lights, no chatter, unless it's necessary." "Federal?" Artemis asked. "Selective," she said. "Customs and Port Authority are looped in where I need them, not where they'd slow things down." That tracked. Too many hands and this kind of operation collapses under its own weight. "How many ports?" I asked. "All of them that matter," she said. "Port Calusa first, then Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami. Each one already in motion, each one waiting on the same window." "You're covering everything," I said. "I'm covering what's visible," she replied. That was the right answer. Didn't mean it was the right target. We reached the vehicles. She stopped, turning slightly so we could see what she was working with. Maps laid across the hood. Digital overlays running on a tablet mounted just above them. Shipping lanes. Container logs. Movement schedules stacked against each other like someone trying to force a pattern out of chaos. Except there was no chaos, just something that didn't want to be read. 1247, Artemis said. Lopez nodded. "That's the anchor," she replied. "Every team is synced to it." "And after?" I asked. "After we move," she said. "Fast, clean, coordinated." "On what?" I said. She looked at me, then down at the map. "Containers flagged across all 4 ports," she said. "Matching routing anomalies, incomplete logs, discrepancies in declared cargo." "All the right signs," Artemis added. "Exactly," Lopez said. I watched the layout for a second longer than I needed to. Something about it. Sat too clean, too complete, like the answer was already in front of us, and that's usually when it isn't. "You've got full coverage," I said. "Yes." "Eyes on every major point of entry." "Yes." "No gaps." She didn't answer that one right away. Then, "Not where it matters," she said. That was as close as she was going to get to saying it out loud. Artemis picked it up immediately. "Secondary routes," he said. "Limited coverage," she replied. "By design." "Or by neglect," I said. She looked at me again, this time longer. "Which one do you think it is?" I didn't answer, because I didn't have it yet, just the feeling. And that wasn't enough to move on, not with this many people already in place. "Teams go live in rotation," Lopez continued. "We don't hit everything at once. We stagger, keep pressure moving instead of locking it in one place." "Smart," Artemis said. "It's necessary," she replied. She tapped the tablet once, bringing up a synchronized timeline across all ports. "Window hits," she said. "We track movement. We confirm targets. Then we move. And if it shifts," I asked. "It won't," she said. That was confidence, not arrogance. But it still sat wrong, because everything I'd seen so far shifted. That was the point. I stepped back slightly from the hood, letting the air settle around me again. Same heat, same weight. Different city, same problem. You've got the teams, I said. Yes. You've got the coverage. Yes. You've got the timing. She nodded once. Then we'll see what shows up. That was the only part that mattered, because whatever Meridian was moving, it wasn't going to announce itself. It was going to slip through the part of the system that looked the most secure. And right now, we were standing in the middle of it, waiting for it to happen again. Chapter 14. Case File. Dawson. J. July 2026. The day started early, not because anyone said it had to, because no one slept. Port Calusa looked different in daylight, cleaner, busier, more honest about what it was. Containers stacked in long rows, cranes already in motion, crews moving cargo like it was just another shift. That's the trick with places like this. Everything looks normal, until you know where to look. I stood with Lopez at the edge of Pier 7, watching the first wave of activity come in. Artemis was already set up in a mobile unit behind us, screens running, feeds pulling from every camera, manifest, and signal he could get his hands on. Walk me through it again, I said. Lopez didn't look at me. Meridian-tagged cargo gets flagged at intake, she said. Anything that touches their routing structure, shell companies, or known intermediaries gets marked. And held. No, she said. Tracked. That mattered. You hold too early, you lose the pattern, she added. We let it move until it gives us something real. That was her world. Controlled risk. Measured pressure. Teams? I asked. Distributed, she said. Port Calusa primary. Tampa, Jacksonville, and Miami running parallel. Each location has authority to board once we confirm movement. And if we don't confirm, she finally looked at me, then we're standing in the wrong place. That was the answer I expected. Didn't make it better. By 9 a.m., the port was fully active. Cargo coming in, cargo going out. Trucks cycling through gates like nothing had changed. But everything had. Federal presence was there if you knew how to see it. Plain clothes, unmarked vehicles, people watching instead of working. Lopez's team didn't interfere, didn't slow anything down. They just observed. Artemis fed us updates in intervals. Jessica's routing pattern is still active, he said over comms. Microtransactions continuing. Same structure. Eric, I asked. Same. Milo? Nothing new? That was consistent. Too consistent. They're still part of it, I said. Or what they touched is, Artemis replied. Same answer. Different framing. By midday, the heat settled in. Heavy. Persistent. The kind that makes time feel slower than it is. Lopez didn't move much. Didn't need to. Everything came to her. Updates, reports, adjustments. She processed it all the same way. Quick, clean. No wasted motion. Jacksonville flagged 2 containers, she said at one point. False, Artemis replied almost immediately. Mismatch on routing structure. Drop it, she said. No hesitation. No second look. That's how you keep the field clean. You don't chase noise. Around 1:30 p.m., Tampa reported a hit. Manifest discrepancy, one of Lopez's people said. Declared cargo doesn't match weight. Hold or track, Artemis asked. Lopez didn't answer right away. She looked at me, just for a second. Then, track it, she said. That was the right call. Didn't feel like it. But it was. By 3 p.m., the pattern started to build. Not clearly, not cleanly, but enough to feel it. Multiple ports, multiple flags, all minor, all just off enough to matter. Feels like movement, I said. It is, Artemis replied. Then why doesn't it line up? Because we're not seeing the whole picture. That again, always just outside the frame. Lopez stepped closer to the map, eyes narrowing slightly. Everything we're seeing is surface level, she said. Containers, routes, paperwork. And none of it explains the removals. She was right. Nothing we had explained 1247, not directly. By 4 p.m., the port shifted, not visibly, but operationally. Teams started tightening positions, units moving closer to entry points, boarding crews staging just out of sight. No announcements, no escalation, just readiness. Walk me through the trigger, I said. Lopez didn't look up. Any Meridian Group cargo ship that flags gets boarded, she said. No delays. Full search? Full. Chain of custody. Locked. And if it's clean. We moved to the next. That was the plan. Simple. Direct. Wrong. I could feel it. Didn't have proof. Didn't have a better angle. Just the feeling. Same one I had back in Riverbend. Same one I ignored the first time. By 4:30 p.m., everything was in place. Port Calusa locked. Tampa ready. Jacksonville staged. Miami watching. 4 cities, 4 ports. Full coverage. No gaps. Lopez stepped back from the map and looked out across the water. Next move is theirs, she said. Artemis's voice came through the comms. All systems aligned. I nodded once. Didn't say anything. Because this was the part where it either came together or it didn't. And for the first time since this started, we were exactly where we were supposed to be. Waiting for Meridian to move. Chapter 15. Case file. Dawson. J. July 2026. They didn't make us wait long. The first flag came out of Tampa. Meridian-linked routing confirmed. A voice cut through the comms. Container Group C-17. Dockside. Requesting authorization to board. Lopez didn't hesitate. Board it, she said. No build-up, no discussion, just movement. Across the map, Tampa lit up. Units closing. Boarding team advancing. Weapons visible but controlled. No sirens. No noise. Just pressure applied exactly where it needed to be. Jacksonville is live, Artemis said. Similar pattern. Container mismatch flagged. Routing overlap with known Meridian shell. Authorize, Lopez replied. Authorized, came the echo from the field. 2 ports moving. Clean. Coordinated. Exactly the way it should look when the system works. Port Calusa held. For now. I stood just off Pier 7, watching the line of containers through a different lens now. Not as cargo. As potential. Every one of them a question. Every one of them a possibility. None of them giving anything up. Miami's got movement, Artemis said. Inbound vessel flagged. Meridian-linked documentation. Board on arrival, Lopez said. Copy. 3 ports now. Tampa, Jacksonville, Miami. All active, all closing in. Feels like it's lining up, I said. Lopez didn't answer. She was watching the map, not the activity. The gaps between it. Tampa is inside, Artemis said. Container opened. A pause, then. Empty. That sat wrong. Run it again, Lopez said. They are, Artemis replied. Nothing inside. No residue. No packing material. Clean. Too clean. Jacksonville? Lopez asked. Boarding now. Another pause. Longer this time. Then. Same result. Empty. Lopez didn't move. Didn't react. Just adjusted her stance slightly, eyes narrowing at the map. Miami? I asked. Still inbound, Artemis said. 2 hits. 2 empties. That wasn't coincidence. Check timestamps, I said. Artemis was already doing it. Routing logs show recent activity, he said, but nothing current. Everything clears just before boarding. How far before? Minutes, he said. Not enough to react to, enough to stay ahead. That wasn't movement. That was timing. Port Calusa, Lopez said, turning to one of her people. Anything local? Negative so far, he replied. All flagged containers accounted for. That didn't help. That made it worse. Miami just docked, Artemis said. All units stand by, Lopez said into comms. Board on my mark. Silence followed. Not empty. Tight. Everyone waiting on the same moment. Mark. Miami moved. Boarding team in position. Container breached. Search initiated. We all waited. Not for long, but long enough. Clear, came the call. Repeat, Lopez said. Container is clear. No cargo. No occupants. No indicators of recent load. 3 for 3. That's when it shifted. Not on the map. In the room. They're not here, I said. No one answered, because everyone already knew. Lopez stepped closer to the table, eyes scanning the full spread again. Run all ports, she said. Artemis didn't ask, didn't question. He ran it. Every flagged container, every route, every anomaly. Same result. Across the board. Empty. They're feeding us ghosts, someone said over comms. No one corrected it, because that's exactly what it looked like. But ghosts don't move like this. They don't line up across 4 cities. They don't clear minutes before contact. They don't disappear without leaving something behind. This did. Time, I said. Artemis checked. 12:46. That was too close. Hold positions, Lopez said. Do not disengage. Her voice didn't change, didn't rise. But there was something under it now. Something sharper. Everything we're seeing, I said, it's staged. No one argued, no one confirmed, because saying it out loud made it real. 12:47, Artemis said, and everything stopped mattering. Chapter 16. Case file. Dawson, July 26. The all clear came in quiet. No announcement. No relief. Just a series of confirmations across the comms that didn't add up to anything. Tampa clear. Jacksonville clear. Miami clear. Port Calusa followed last. Pier 7 clear. No findings. That was it. 4 cities. 4 coordinated hits. Nothing. I didn't stay where I was. Didn't need to. When something doesn't line up, you don't stand in the middle of it pretending it will fix itself. You go somewhere else. I made my way down to Pier 14, farther out, quieter, less traffic. Less attention. The kind of place things pass through without being watched too closely. The kind of place that doesn't make the front page when something goes wrong. Lopez was already there. Artemis just behind her. Both of them looking at the same thing I was about to. Paperwork. Manifests. Routing logs pulled from the containers we flagged. The ones we tracked. The ones we hit across every major port we had locked down. Everything clean. Too clean. Walk me through it, I said. Lopez didn't look up. Every flagged container was boarded, she said. Chain of custody intact. Documentation verified. And? Nothing inside that shouldn't be, she replied. Artemis stepped in. Routing holds, he said. All the anomalies we tracked are real. Shell companies, staggered logs, incomplete declarations. But no cargo, I said. No meaningful cargo, he corrected. That was the problem. Everything we found was just enough to justify the operation, not enough to prove anything real. I picked up one of the manifests and flipped through it. Dates lined up. Routes made sense. Weights matched. Everything exactly where it should be. Too clean, I said. Lopez nodded once. Yeah. Not rushed, Artemis added. Not reactive. Built, I said. That word stuck. Because that's what it was. This wasn't something we interrupted. It was something we stepped into. Lopez finally looked up from the paperwork. They gave us everything we needed to move, she said. And nothing that mattered, I replied. She didn't argue it. Didn't need to. Artemis shifted one of the screens toward us. Timeline overlay, he said. I leaned in slightly. Same pattern across all 4 ports. Flags, tracking, boarding, search. All of it. Clean. Too clean. Look at the gaps, I said. There aren't any, Lopez replied. Exactly. That's when it clicked. Not a theory, not a guess. A fact. They didn't move through us, I said. They moved around us. No one spoke for a second. Didn't need to. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. All major ports lit up, Artemis said. Full federal attention, Lopez added. Maximum coverage, I said. And nowhere for them to go, she finished. I shook my head. No, I said. Nowhere we were looking. Lopez turned back to the map, pulled it up again. Wider this time, beyond the primary ports, beyond the federal lanes. Her eyes moved slower now, more deliberate. Secondary ports, she said. Limited coverage, Artemis added. Minimal oversight, I said. That's where it sat, not in front of us, just outside it. I reached into my coat for the phone without thinking. Didn't check the time. Didn't need to. The screen lit up on its own. Unknown number. The message was already there. Better luck next time, investigator. NM. I stared at it. Didn't react. Didn't move. Because there it was. Not the system. Not the operation. The voice behind it. They know, I said. Lopez didn't ask what I meant. Artemis didn't either. I turned the phone so they could see it. Lopez read it once, then handed it back. That's not a warning, she said. No. It's confirmation. Yeah. Artemis stepped back slightly, eyes shifting to the map again. They didn't just avoid us, he said. They positioned us, I replied. Lopez exhaled slowly. Not frustration, not anger. Adjustment. Where, she said. Not a question. A demand. I looked back out across the water, past the containers, past the ships, sitting exactly where they were supposed to be. Then further, past the lines we controlled, past the ports we covered, to the ones we didn't. Key West, I said. No one spoke, because they didn't need to. The timeline already confirmed it. The pattern already supported it. And the message sealed it. We stood there on Pier 14, the paperwork still spread across the table, the operation still active across 4 cities that didn't matter anymore. Everything in place, everything executed, everything. Wrong. The shipment was gone, already out, already moving, and we never saw it. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and looked out over the water one more time. Because that's the part they don't tell you. You can do everything right. Hit every mark, cover every angle, and still lose. And somewhere out there, past the routes we controlled. Meridian was already finishing the job we never had a chance to stop. I didn't leave the docks right away. Lopez and her teams had already started shifting focus, pulling resources, redirecting attention towards secondary ports that should have been on the board from the start. Artemis was still running timelines, looking for something we missed that wasn't there to find. That part was over. This wasn't. I stepped away from Pier 14 and made the call. Dennis picked up on the second ring. Keller. Yeah. A pause. Not long. Just enough to register tone. That didn't sound like a win, he said. It wasn't. Another pause. What do you need? Riverbend, I said. Dawson house, Milo's place, hospital. Anything tied to Jessica, Eric, or Milo. I need to know what's still there. That was the question. Not what we found. What was left. Dennis didn't answer right away. Then, you're not going to like it. Tell me anyway. We went back through everything after you left, he said. House is clean, not just searched, cleared. No residuals, no prints worth running, nothing that wasn't already burned. That tracked. Milo? Same, he said. Apartment's empty. Anything that looked like it mattered is gone. Whatever was there got pulled before we got back in. And the hospital? A longer pause this time. They reassigned her locker, he said. Everything inside it's gone. No record it was ever logged. No report filed. I looked out over the water. Didn't say anything, because I already knew what that meant. They're scrubbing it, I said. They already did, Dennis replied. That was the difference. We react. They don't. Witnesses, I asked. Nothing solid, he said. Friend doesn't know anything she can prove. Milo's a ghost now. No paper, no trail, no reason for anyone to keep asking questions. And Eric. Another pause. He never existed the way you thought he did, Dennis said. Financials are still there, but they're hollow. Accounts routing into the same structure you flagged. Whatever he was tied to, it wasn't clean to begin with. I let that sit, because that was the last piece. Jessica didn't disappear. She was moved. Eric didn't get caught in it. He was part of it. Milo didn't get lucky. He got pulled. You still there? Dennis asked. Yeah. You want me to keep digging? No, I said. That stopped him. No? They're done here, I said. Anything you find now is going to be what they left behind. And that's not nothing, he replied. No, I said. It's exactly what they want it to be. He didn't argue it. Didn't agree either. All right, he said. You know where to find me? Yeah. The line went dead. I stood there for a second longer than I needed to. Let it settle. Not the loss, the shape of it. Because this wasn't like other cases. Nothing to close, nothing to file. No body, no recovery. No answer that holds up long enough to mean anything. Jessica Dawson wasn't missing. She was gone. Not lost. Removed. Same as the container. Same as the records. Same as everything else that touched that system. Artemis stepped up beside me. You confirmed it, he said. Yeah. And? I didn't look at him. They cleaned it, I said. Everything. House. Milo. Hospital. All of it. He nodded once. That tracks. It always does, I replied. He let that sit. Then, they don't leave loose ends. No, I said. They don't leave anything. Lopez joined us a moment later. Riverbend? She asked. Done, I said. She didn't need more than that. Then this isn't a case anymore, she said. No, I replied. It's a system. Yeah. She looked back out toward the water. People disappear inside systems like this, she said. Only if you let them, I replied. That got her attention. Not disagreement, recognition. I reached into my pocket and pulled the phone out again. Looked at the message one more time. Better luck next time. They weren't talking about the ports. They were talking about the case. Jessica, Eric, Milo, all of it. I slipped the phone back into my coat, because that was the part that mattered. Not that we lost the shipment, not that we missed the route. That was going to happen. That was part of it. We lost the people. And Meridian didn't just stay ahead of us. They made sure there was nothing left to follow. I looked back out across the water one last time. Not at the ships, not at the containers. Past them. To the routes we didn't see. To the places we didn't cover. To the part of the system that doesn't show up until it's already gone. That's where they were. That's where they always were. And now, there was nothing left in Riverbend to bring them back. Outro. Case file. Dawson J., July 2026. July had her way with me. Not all at once. Not loud. Not clean. She didn't break anything that couldn't still move. She just shifted it. Turned angles I thought I understood into something else entirely. Took a straight line and bent it until it didn't point where it used to. By the time it was over, I wasn't standing in the same place I started. Not even close. The Meridian group didn't run from me. They didn't hide. They let me chase them. That was the game. Not speed. Not distance. Control. Every step I took, they were already there. Not ahead of me. Placed ahead of me. Like the path I thought I was carving out had already been mapped before I ever set foot on it. Riverbend. The docks. Port Calusa. Every move lined up just enough to feel like progress. Just enough to keep me moving. That's how a system like that works. Not by stopping you, by guiding you. And Cozy didn't need to show himself. Didn't need to speak. He left his answer in the operation. In the timing. In the message that hit my phone after the fact like it was already written before we ever moved. Better luck next time. There wasn't going to be a next time. Not like this. We stood on those docks in Port Calusa with everything in place. Teams ready. Ports locked. Eyes everywhere that mattered. And still, we missed it. Not because we were slow. Not because we didn't see it. Because we were looking exactly where they wanted us to. That's the part that sticks. Not the loss. The realization. You can't chase something that's already decided where you're going to stand. I lit a lucky I wasn't supposed to have. Drew it in slow. Let it burn longer than I needed. The smoke didn't hang the way it used to. Didn't settle. It broke apart quick in the heat. Gone before it had time to mean anything. July doesn't creep in. She divides. And this time, she split it clean. Work from reality. Signal from noise. Hunter from target. And me. Right down the middle. I crushed the cigarette under my heel and looked out over the water one last time. Because whatever Meridian was, it wasn't finished. Not here. Not with me. August was already at the door. And this time, I wasn't coming to chase any